It is recording. Hello, Alex.
Mm.
This is Alex, all who watch. I am Jada, driven by youth. Hurrah!
Mm. I'm Alex. Nice to meet everyone. Mm.
Can you hear all the crowd cheering?
Mm.
Woo!
I know we got to calm them down. It's too loud. It's too loud.
All right, first question that I just want to ask real quick is if you were a vacation, what would you be and why?
If I was a vacation, and what would I be and why?
Yeah,
I would be the snow in the mountains because I love snowboarding and it's a huge passion of mine. And whenever I'm in the snow, it's kind of like a meditation for me. So every time I snowboard, it just calms me down, gets me grounded, and just gets me really excited.
that's cool. What got you into snowboarding, or how long have you been doing it?
So I started snowboarding when I was probably like 13 to 15, and I only went a couple times, and then I really, really enjoyed it. So I kept going more, and it just really got me excited, and I got into it.
That's cool. You ever gone skiing?
I don't like skiers. I'm more of a snowboarder. Nothing against them. It just I personally like to snowboard, and skiers tend to not like snowboarders for some reason, but it's okay.
There's like a rivalry, like with NorCal and South SoCal.
A little bit of a rivalry for sure.
That's funny. That's cool though. Good answer. I think the last time I went up to the snow was in like 2018, but I've never snowboarded or anything.
It's
Someday.
so fun.
Dang. Well, that's cool. Well, hello again. Um, please tell what's your 30-second elevator pitch of who you are.
Yeah, so my name's Alex. I came from a little bit of a different background than most people, right? So I came from a place of addiction and a place where I was really struggling as a kid, right, to kind of to try to fit in. So I started out in that field, and then now I'm 100% sober many years later. But that's kind of where I came from.
Yay. That's great. And you were saying as a kid you struggled with addiction?
Yeah, it all started around 12 to 13. I started smoking weed, and then things escalated really quickly. But as a kid, I thought it was cool to smoke weed and to smoke cigarettes, and I got addicted to it really quickly. So it just became a habit of mine, and I wasn't able to stop. So things kind of progressed really, really fast. I only started with weed, and then it went to Vicodins and Percocets and stuff like that. And pretty much my entire life, I was addicted to some kind of substance. So I would say starting in high school is when it really started getting bad, and I couldn't control anything. And that's when opiates came into my life. And once opiates came into my life, it was pretty much over for me. I wasn't able to control it, and it just it was really bad. So I would say around the age of like 15 to 16 is when a lot harder drugs started to come into play. And at that point, all my friends would tell me, well, it's actually my friend Matt. He was the one who saw everything from the beginning to start. But I just wasn't able to control it. And once I started doing the harder drugs, I started doing Xanax, cocaine, and all that kind of stuff. And then around 18 is when I started really getting into harder drugs like heroin and meth and stuff like that. And to make a long story short, I went to a couple of rehabs, and that didn't really do anything for me. So I would say the majority of my life I was on some kind of substance, and I just wasn't able to do anything else. All I thought about was how I'm going to get high again. And because with opiates, I didn't realize this until I would say at least a year into it. When I didn't have it, I thought I had the flu. And so I would ask my friend, I'm like, hey, why do I feel crappy? What's going on? I think I have the flu. He's like, no, you're dope sick. And I didn't know what dope sick was really until I tried heroin for the first time. And once I tried heroin, that's when my life really spiraled downhill. And that was around 18, right after high school, is when all that started. And I actually ended up doing all these drugs and didn't really realize it was a problem until I pretty much lost everything. I would say around the age of 21, 20 to 21 is when I lost everything, and I ended up being homeless for a couple years. And I kind of had an epiphany where I was like, okay, so it's either I'm going to be doing this for the rest of my life or I'm going to try to get clean.
Mhm.
I, I remember this day specifically where I was just realizing, okay, so it's either I do this or I try to get clean. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to keep doing this. And I remember that point specifically where I just kind of gave up and I was like, you know what? I accepted it. I'm just going to do this for the rest of my life. And I didn't think there was another option because
Mhm.
being dope sick and like being in that life, you just don't see anything else. Like literally nothing else mattered. The only thing that mattered to me at that time was how to get more drugs and how to keep stealing and robbing and doing all these awful things that I would never even consider doing in my sobriety, right?
Mhm.
I was a completely different person. So it turned me from a normal kid into pretty much a zombie and a nemesis to society, you could say. And
Dang.
eventually, yeah, I ended up being homeless, I would say at least 3 years. It could be longer. And then I lost a lot of my teeth. I lost all my friends. I lost my whole family. And it just got me to the lowest point possible in my life. And I'm actually super grateful for all that because if it weren't for all that, I wouldn't be able to get to where I'm at today. That's how I look at that. And to me, gratitude is super important because without gratitude, I'm not able to, be grateful for what I have and then get things that I actually want to get. And without all these experiences, I just don't think I would be able to have such a fulfilled life today.
Mhm.
So that's a little bit about where I came from.
Oh my gosh, that got real intense real fast. Wow. That's so wait, so what made you um I guess kind of reverse since you're like, I'll just stay here, but obviously you're not anymore. What was the or was it like a gradual thing?
Yeah, so what actually ended up happening is my little brother David, he found me in the streets of San Francisco. That's where I was homeless. So I spent most of my time in the Tenderloin. And he found me and was like, hey, we can get you some help. We can get your teeth fixed. And something just hit me where I was like, okay, it's time. I can get help. There's actually a chance to something else. I don't really know how to explain it where I couldn't see anything else before that point. I knew I had my family. I knew I had friends that, cared about me, but I just couldn't see past it because the
Mm-hmm.
addiction goes so deep that literally nothing else matters.
Mm-hmm.
So it was really tough to get out of it, but once I got out of it, that's when life started to change. And I actually ended up going to Israel for 10 months and I got sober and it's been amazing ever since. So I went to multiple rehabs before that and all the ones in America just doesn't work. I would get clean for a little bit and just go right back to what I was doing. So it was really, really tough before the point of to go to Israel.
Wow. What was different about the ones from America and then the one in Israel?
Well, the ones in America, you just have access to your old people really easily. You can just escape and you can go back to it. There's nothing really holding you there, right? In Israel, they took my passport, they took my phone, and it was like, okay, it's either I go in this foreign country and go try to get high and do all these crazy things, or I'm like, you know what, let me just give it a chance. I'm already here. And I'm super grateful that I did because I mean, I definitely wouldn't have made it. I've overdosed at least 5 times that I know of. I've seen people overdose in front of me. I've seen many people die in front of me. Like it's awful. The disease of addiction is really crazy. So to get to where to this point has been a huge mission and it's been really hard, but it's been super worth it.
Yay. Dang, well that's good. How do you feel now? And hopefully these questions aren't too intrusive or anything, but has it gotten easier or is it always kind of a little difficult?
It's definitely gotten easier as my sobriety time increases. In the beginning, it was really challenging. I just didn't even want to be clean. I was like, you know what? F this. I want to just go back to using. This isn't even worth it. I would say it took a good, like, solid 2 years really to get back on track and to be really focused and, back to being a normal human being.
Dang. Wow.
Because when you're in your addiction, you're not yourself. Like, you're a completely different person. the things that I would do in my addiction, I would never even think about doing today. I mean, it's not like, doesn't even cross my mind, right? So when you're under the influence of these powerful drugs, like you just can't think about anything else.
Man, that's crazy. Is it kind of like, well, I was gonna, I don't really do anything or drink for that matter as well. But is it like you're aware of what you're doing, but you just don't care? Or is it kind of like if you're, I guess, drunk or and you're not super aware of what's going on?
Yeah, I would say you're definitely aware of what's going on, but you just don't, in a sense, like you do care, but you don't. Like I
Mm,
knew all of these drugs were really, really bad for me, but I justified saying, oh, it's not that bad. It's okay to do these drugs. Like it's not a big deal. And in reality, like it can kill you, right? So the disease of addiction kind of tricks your mind saying, oh, it's okay. It's not that bad. And it's really not.
man, well, that's interesting. Okay, so from going from there, I know that we met through Nick. Do you know how to say his last name? Santanastazo.
Yes. Yeah, you got it. You got it. Yeah, that's how we met.
And then so we were talking there, and then I mentioned sub two, and you're like, oh, I'm a sub two student as well. So how'd you go? How'd you even get into this whole field, this like real estate and personal development, I guess, with Nick?
Yeah, so I'll back up a little bit. So after I got out of Israel, I went to Florida to this halfway house, and I had zero experience in life in general, especially no sales experience.
Mm,
I ended up going there from the program that I was in from Israel. They sent me to this house, and I met a couple cool people, but I hated it because you have to live with all these other guys, and it just wasn't a good environment. But I learned a lot from there. So I ended up getting a job as someone working like landscaping and construction for basically nothing an hour in the heat of Florida in the humidity, right? So that taught me a lot where that's not something I want to do. So I was doing valet and that at the same time.
mm,
And so I would just kept saving up to have my own place. And eventually I did. I got out of there. And then I got my I got a sales job at Verizon, and I worked there for a couple years, and that helped me a lot to be able to talk to people, to be able to function better. And from there, I got into a couple other sales jobs, and my last job was a tech job, and the tech job was pretty much tech sales. And I ended up getting laid off. But right before I got laid off, I met my business partner, Nick, and we were just talking about creative finance. He was already in it. He was telling me that we can work together, and it really caught my interest. So I went all in on this. I started studying, and what ended up happening was I got laid off in January. And then the same day that I got laid off, we were actually flying to Miami to go see Pace Morby, Grant Cardone, and Ed Milet.
wow.
And it's really funny how all this happened. So that same day, we flew out, and I just knew that this was meant for me. So I've been doing this full time ever since, and I haven't looked back. There's just no way that I would want to go back to a W 2. I just really like the ability to work as much as I want and actually make progress into our business versus somebody else's. So, how I look at it is all the jobs that I've ever had, I was making their dreams come true, not mine. So, it's really awesome to be able to make our dreams come true. And the more work we put in, it's for our own company, right? Versus somebody else's. And it just doesn't help with anything.
Yeah, that's been an interesting mindset shift where it's like, okay, the success of this is all dependent on me, essentially. So it's, whether you're going to be successful or not, it's very big on accountability. Being a business owner, it's kind of nice. I was, oh, wait, where was I going to take this? Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I remember, I think like 2 years ago, I was watching something about um I think it was like one of those weird kind of fetishes where like there was a couple that was getting interviewed, and some girl was like, yeah, I dress up as a dog, but it's like in public as well, and they're just acting weird. And somebody was talking about it, and then they just started talking about how people just don't want to take responsibility for their actions anymore. Like being responsible is a burden, and a lot of people would rather not and would rather just give in to whatever desires they have, or would rather believe in what determinism, kind of to try to just shoulder off any kind of responsibility they might have. And I think that's something that is kind of fulfilling. Being like a business owner, it's like, oh my God, this is on me. So although it can be stressful at times, it's interesting. I think it makes it interesting.
Yeah, and just to circle back on that, so it started with me and Nick,
Mm-hmm.
and the amount of stress and the amount of crazy things that we had to go through in the beginning, all these deals, that it was a huge learning experience. We needed that to be able to be strong enough to go through all the stuff that we're going through now and that we're going to go through later. And we all realize that it's going to get harder, not easier, right? I totally agree with more money, more problems, because the more money you make, there's going to be a lot more problems. And we've accepted that. And we're able to learn and keep learning about from all of our mistakes. And it's just huge learning curve every single day. And I feel like we're growing every single day and just making changes and adjusting as we go.
That's cool. So what do you do in real estate? I know that you're in sub two, but like, what is it?
Yeah, so we buy houses subject to, which means we pretty much just take over the mortgage. We leave the existing debt in the seller's name, and we get ownership of the house, and now we control it. So we buy these houses, and we actually pretty much buy only VA loans, right? We take over VA loans, and the reason being is because there's zero to low to no equity in these deals, and they don't have PMI, which is private mortgage insurance. So our payment every month is pretty low compared to a regular loan. And we target these because they're people that can't really make their payments anymore, or they just want to be done with the house. So we just take it over.
Interesting. I don't know anything about VA loans, so I didn't realize about the PMI. That's cool. Are you
Yeah, we
guys?
really like those. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's our favorite type of loan that we like to take over just because our payment's a lot lower and we're able to help these veterans at the same time.
Mm, that's nice. Yeah, I really like how sub twos. It's I mean it's a real estate course, but it's also really focused on service and how you can help others. What are
Definitely.
some cases that you've had that have been, I guess, the most rewarding? Because I know, like with Pace, if anybody doesn't know him, he talks about finding people's bunnies. So he was saying how for one of his transactions or one of his past deals, there was a woman who he was trying to buy her house, and she wasn't really interested, and so he was like, okay, but she was mentioning that she had a bunch of rabbits, and she was like, well, I need to house these rabbits, so that's why I don't really want to sell the house and whatever. And he ended up finding a home for them, and that was it. Like he just found the home. He wasn't really trying to get the house afterwards, but because of that, she ended up selling him the house. So now he's like, yeah, I mean, solve people's problems and see where you go from there. So like, I don't really know. I mean, I'm assuming since it's a VA loan, everybody's military. I don't know if people get sent out somewhere, or like what are some cases that you've come across?
Yeah, so we've helped multiple families. One example is they were about $30,000 in behind payments. They needed to leave. They were being stationed out, another VA loan. So we were able to pay off their behind payments and we were able to get them out of the situation that they're in. And they were actually able to get another house as well once we paid that off. So it was a win-win. We took over their 3% mortgage and they were able to get into another house after we paid that off for them. So I feel like we really help them out and let them be homeowners still.
That's cool. Yay. What do you, I guess, like the most about what you're doing now, or at least the life that you're in now? Is it being able to help these people? Is it just, you know, not in a weird greedy way, but is it the income that you're generating now? I know that we met at WealthCon, so is it the traveling? Like what are some of the things that you like most about how the stage that you're in right now?
Yeah, the things I like most about it is I'm able to help people in bad situations like pre-foreclosure situations, or they're just in really happy situations. They just can't pay their mortgage and they just want to get out of that house. And we also are able to make good money, which is great. And also just working with my team has been super great. We've built a team. Now it's four of us and we're just able to work together and it's just been amazing. So I just want to keep going and we just want to keep building our business.
Heck yeah, that's awesome. So I keep saying so. I don't want to. trying to limit the so's and the ums and the something, 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 So, but anyways, um, yes. Oh man, I had some questions and I forgot to write them down. Anyways, what I know that we met at WealthCon. Was that the first conference that you've been to, or have you been to other ones? Which I guess this year or within the last. Well, you started in real estate this year, correct?
Yep, started this year. So my first one was Break the Code in Miami. I went with my business partner Nick. That was amazing. We met a lot of really good people, and then we met at WealthCon not too long ago. That was also really great. So now I want to go there every quarter and just start meeting more people. And WealthCon was amazing. It's really cool to just meet like-minded people. I think networking is super important. Because of networking, I've been able to meet all the people on my team. I've been able to build all these relationships with all these agents and even direct to the sellers. So without networking and relationships, you can't do business, in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely. And what's interesting is that I started to learn about that more when I was getting into the multifamily space. But I also see that, well, at least I was looking at that in the multifamily because you cannot do like commercial multifamily alone. That's just, it's insane. You need a team. But yeah, like as you, or because of that, I started looking into all aspects of things, and it's like, oh yeah, everything kind of takes a village. Like when people are like, raising a baby takes a bunch of people. It's kind of the same with like business and kind of everything. Like you can't, I don't know of something that's best when somebody does it alone, at least off the top of my head.
There's no way that you can do real estate alone.
No.
You need multiple people because, first of all, just to do a real estate transaction, there has to be multiple people involved, right? There's a title company, there's a real estate agent, there's a seller. Without those three things, you can't do a real estate transaction.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very important to build all these relationships with people, and you have to be on good terms with everyone. You have to do good business, and good business will come back to you.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. What's your goal in real estate, I guess? Like, one, what is your why? And two, what keeps you kind of going?
Yeah, my why is I just want to have financial freedom. And it's not about the dollar amount, it's just about the freedom to be able to do whatever I want, whenever I want. And if one day I don't want to work, I don't have to work. I don't think I'll ever stop working, but just to be like, okay, well, I'm going snowboarding today, or I'm going here today. And the goal is to get to 1,000 reps. That's what we're trying to get to.
1,000 reps? Nice. Dang, that's a lot. That's a pretty good goal.
Well, we'll get there. We'll definitely get there.
How what is a wrap? What's the difference between, or is that what you've been doing right now with wrapping the VA loans?
Yeah, exactly. So what we've been doing is we've been buying them subject to, and we've been wrapping them, which means we're essentially creating a new note. So let's just say we get a deal at 3 or 4% interest. Now we're going to go ahead and turn around and sell it to someone else at 7 to 10% interest, just depends on their down payment. So we're creating a new note, which means now we're the bank instead of, we're essentially not, we're a lender now once we create a note. So we're arbitraging the interest. So we get paid a couple different times. We'll get paid up front when we get a bigger down payment compared to what we bought it for. And then we get cash flow. And then if we want to sell the note afterwards as well. So we really like wrapping.
That's cool. That's really interesting. Okay. Have you ever tried to explain this to like your friends or family, or have you ever tried to get them possibly involved, or do they seem like they're pretty content in their own lives?
They seem like they're pretty content in their own lives. I kind of do my thing. My brother, he's also in real estate. He does his own thing, but we are starting to work together. He actually manages some of my properties that I have. He does the insurance claims. He works with Jesse Vasquez, and he does the midterm rentals and all that kind of stuff.
That's interesting. Oh. Do your parents, or I guess your family, are they typically homeowners, or have you mostly been like a renting family?
I would say a mixture, definitely a mixture. But the goal is to be able to own instead of rent, right? For everyone.
Mm. Yeah, and I guess the reason why I was asking these questions is in my life we've always rented. So getting into sub 2 and understanding how there's a lot of like very attainable goals to be a homeowner now. It's really opened my eyes. So with me, whenever I can, I may sound a little scammy, like a little bit of a pyramid scheme, but I start telling people, hey, this is what I do. Like, come, I'd love to teach you about it or to have you learn about it a little more. But have you ever talked to somebody like that where you're trying to just open their mind about like, hey, this is how you can do something, and they're really closed off to it?
Oh, I'm not. Yeah, I've ran into that too, where people are they just don't think it's possible, right? I didn't think it was possible until I really started diving deeper into it and learning about subject to and how it works. And that, yes, it's illegal. Everyone says it's illegal, which it's not. And the thing is, I've been trying to teach people to do it. And once they see the amount of work it takes, they just go ghost and then they're gone. Because it takes a lot of work and a lot of effort to get to where we're at. And to get to where we're going, it takes even more work. And we're totally okay with that. We understand that it takes a lot of sacrifices to get there.
Yeah, definitely. Ooh, another question that I had was, so I'm starting to ask this to people now just because I'm really interested. So I see a lot of couples in the space working together, especially in sub 2. It's like a lot of the big like the big leaders are married or have their partners working with them. Do you think that that's something that would be important to you as well if you have a partner that understands what you're doing? And would you want them to work in your team, or would you be cool like let's say they're a real estate agent, they liked working alone doing that, or what would you prefer?
Yeah, I think it's really important for your partner to be on board with what you're doing. I think it's a huge plus if they do like doing sub two deals, because then you guys can just keep talking about it. But if your partner's not supportive about what you do, I don't think it's going to work.
Yeah. And I guess the same question goes with friends, or I guess anybody in your life. I've started noticing that because I do all of this, a lot of people that I knew from high school and or just in general, they have their own W-2s, and it's definitely a different mindset. Who do you, I guess, hang out with or surround yourself with?
I really only try to surround myself with like-minded individuals. So the people on my team, the people I meet at networking events, I'm only friends with one person from high school. His name's Matt. He's been with me since day one. But besides that, I don't have too many friends that I spend a lot of time with, right? Because one of my favorite quotes is from Dan Pena. He says, "Show me your friends and I'll show you your future." I
Mhm.
strongly believe in that, because if you surround yourself with people that are bringing you down or not doing positive things, like, that's what's going to happen to you. But if you surround yourself with winners, you're bound to be a winner, and you're just bound to be like them.
That's awesome. So how often do you go to networking events? I've noticed that I work a lot and then I get tired and then I kind of make excuses to not go out. But I don't know whether that should be like, every day try to hit a networking event, or yeah, I'd like to get your input on stuff like that.
I definitely don't go every day. I would say usually about once a week, or maybe even twice a week if there's multiple events that I want to go to. It's not like a certain number that I have to hit. It just, if some of my friends are going and some people that I want to meet that I know from social media and that I haven't met before, I usually go.
Okay, that's cool. And how do you find these meetups? Is it through Sub 2, or is it just random, like on meetup.com, or?
I would say both. There's a lot of meetups on sub two, and then there's a lot of meetups, on meetup.com, and just like people would send me events, and if I like it, I'll just go to it. But how I look at that is I never know who I'm going to meet,
Mm.
right? Because the first event that I've ever went to, that's where I met Nick, which is now my business partner. And if it weren't for me going to that, then none of this would have happened. So I'm a true believer in everything happens for a reason. So me going into these events, I have no expectations, but I also never know who I'm going to meet.
Yeah, that's cool. I should do that more. It's interesting because when we go to all these conferences, everybody that I meet that's from California, they're either in San Francisco in the Bay Area or in San Diego. There's nobody from LA.
Well, there's a lot that I know of in LA, so I'll start sending them to you for sure.
Oh, thank God. Please do. So do you plan on staying in in the Bay Area, I guess, indefinitely, or?
No, I'm actually going to be moving to Denver pretty
Oh,
soon here, so I'm just going to be going back and forth from the Bay to Denver.
why are you going back and forth? Why not just stay in Denver?
Well, because I have family here, so I want to just go back and forth and see everyone.
Do you have an idea? Because I want to do the same thing, except I want to go to, I don't know where I want to go yet. We'll see. But I'm really close to my family, and I'm trying to see what would that sweet spot be. So like, what would it be for you? Like twice a month that you're thinking, or once a month?
I would say at least once a month, once to twice a month, yeah.
Smart. And why Denver?
Well, I used to live in Denver, and I just love the snow, and it's super easy access to the mountains, and I just love the environment there. It's really calm, and I just like having the mountains around.
Mm, that's cool. I've never been to Colorado. I hear it's beautiful.
Well, you'll have to come this winter for sure.
Shoot. Are you moving in the winter?
I think in January,
Okay, cool.
just
I'm
waiting for the right sub two house to get.
that's smart, like Kevin Cho. Dude,
Exactly.
cool. Yeah, I'm trying to make a map of everybody that I've been meeting that I really want to like visit. So Miami's one, Austin is one, Denver's another now. Vegas, we'll see if I move there. I don't know. But that's cool. So it is it just why are you choosing now to move?
Because just why not? Like, because we can do whatever we want now. As you know, we can move wherever we want. We can go wherever we want. When you're tied up with the W-2, it's a lot harder to do that. If you have to go in an office or, we do everything remote, so we can pretty much move wherever, which is amazing.
That's cool. So is it kind of are you going there kind of as an act of not rebellion, but just an act of exercising your freedom or
Well, not only that, it just we do a lot of business in Colorado also, so it'll just be easier to go see these houses in person whenever we're buying them. Because right now we're doing everything virtually. Going as a team, we're going to spend almost half the month in Colorado, but besides that, my team doesn't ever go there. So it'll be easier if I'm there and just to basically be boots on the ground and be able to enjoy Colorado at the same time.
that's cool. How have you been able to do it virtually? Are you just asking agents to take video walkthroughs, or do you actually have people that are in your team go out there to see them?
Well, kind of both. We always ask the agents to do videos for us and pictures, and if the agents can't make it, we just hire someone to go and to do all those kind of things for us.
Mm. Dude, that's impressive. Like just going out and buying these houses um virtually. That's insane. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
I went with Nick to Colorado back in June, and that's when for the first time, we were actually able to see all these houses. So it's cool to be able to be like, okay, wow, like this is real. We knew it was real, but until we actually stepped foot and opened it, then we're like, okay, these are actually our houses.
Wait, so how much experience does Nick have? Did he also join Sub 2 in this year or
So he's been doing real estate for about 4 years full time now.
dude, that's a good partner to have then.
And now we have Verge on our team and Angel on our team. So it's the four of us. Our company is called Invest PMP. So we're just slowly building our brand and we're just starting to do a lot more business. And yeah, it's all about relationships, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
The more relationships you have, the more business you're able to do. And the more good business you do, the more better relationships that'll happen from it.
Yeah, having integrity when it comes to the way that you do business is super important.
Super important to like if you tell an agent or whoever that you're going to do something, you have to make sure you do it. Because if you don't do it, your reputation's over. And in this world, reputation means everything.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, you know what was interesting is I've been watching a lot of like Alex Hormozy and Layla Hormozy. They're super inspiring. But Alex had said, like he had mentioned that he used to say, under promise and over deliver. But he's like, now, honestly, just deliver. You don't need to go super above and beyond because a lot of people don't even keep their commitments. So as long as you do what you say you're gonna do, you're good. I agree with that.
Agreed.
Yeah. And okay, so I have yet to really delve into like what my avatar is. I guess I don't really know how to find that. Um, as far as like kind of the rocket fuel visionary integrator, what do you think that you are in terms of like you and Nick when you first started?
I would say that he's more of the visionary. I'm more of a connector, and we kind of just played all the roles right in the beginning. So we had to do everything when it comes to finding private money, to finding the deals, to calling the agents, because it was only us, right? But now we're able to delegate most of our tasks. So we're starting to automate more things, but it takes a long time to get to that point. We're still not there all the way, but we are building all of our systems out and things are getting a lot easier.
That's cool. So are you like pretty extroverted then if you're more of a connector?
I would say I used to be more introverted, but after I got sober, it's been a lot easier to be extroverted. So as time goes, I'm able to talk to people a lot better. But in the beginning, I was very shy and I didn't want to talk to anyone at all.
Mm-hmm.
It's very closed off.
Okay, so I feel like I'm in between. I used to think that I was more of an extrovert because I just like hanging out in groups, and I like in high school or like friend groups or whatever. It's nice when it's multiple people. But as I've been going to these conferences, I think I'm just feeling overwhelmed by how little I know and how just experienced everybody is. So I start like, oh, kind of dreading having to talk to so many people. But once I start talking to them, then it's like, oh, okay, well, this is great. So do you feel the same way, or are you just always kind of like pumped?
Sometimes, I mean, I'm not always pumped, that's for sure. So sometimes I don't want to talk to people, but a lot of times I do. So it really just depends. It really just depends.
Do you have, and this is now more for my curiosity. So I'm trying to think of like whether I should have a limit of, because like those conferences, they're usually like a couple days and then they start in the morning, so you want to get enough rest. But I was watching, have you ever seen the movie Yes, I think it's Yes Man by or with Jim Carrey?
No, I haven't.
So in the movie he's just like super sad divorced guy that's like kind of cut off from everyone, and he always says no and is making a bunch of excuses to not really do anything anymore because he's so depressed. And then he goes to this one conference where they're like, just say yes, start saying yes to life and like start actually doing stuff. And I don't know, like outside of the movie too, I think I saw somebody, it might have been Jim Rohn or something, where he was saying like, start saying yes to stuff, like go to stuff. But and I try to implement that, like, okay, yeah, let me go to this conference, let me go to this meetup and all of that. But man, in the conferences, some people are just party animals and they can go all night. And I don't know when is like an appropriate time to say, I'm gonna go to sleep, or when it's like, I don't want to have FOMO. I should keep hanging out. Do you have an idea of like
Uh,
when you're like, I'm gonna stop?
I get where you're coming from. I just put limits on it, right? So at WealthCon, for example, we were networking pretty much every single day afterwards. Um, I don't party or do any of those kind of things, so I was just there for the networking part, and then we left. But we
I
ended up staying till like 2 or 3 in the morning, just networking, not partying.
Yeah, and that's even what I mean too. Like it's because I don't do anything either. I'm just kind of hanging out with people. But man, there's like 40, 50-year olds that are on top of their game and just are like even like still super vibrant when it's like midnight, and I'm so tired. I feel like an old lady. Ah, that's cool. Do you have an idea or like a goal of how many networking events or conferences or anything that you want to go to a year?
Um, I would say just a couple. I would say a good maybe at least once a quarter. I want to go to a big one. So like maybe it's WealthCon, or we're going to actually go to CreativeCon in November.
Hey,
So we're going to do both of those.
that's cool. That's a good one.
And
Yeah, I think once a quarter.
have you been to CreativeCon before?
No, I just heard of it this week.
Me too, and we're going.
Oh, where's it at? Or what are the dates again?
It's in Scottsdale. I think it's from November 10th till 12th.
Okay. Cool. Cool. I'm gonna look into it after this.
And I would say that the events that you have to pay for, I usually get a lot more value versus the free ones, just because people actually have to pay for it and then they want to get a lot more out of it.
Yeah, that's true. It's a lot of that whole get my money's worth of stuff. Yeah, that's really interesting because I have been a part of a lot of different things, and my mom does runs a nonprofit. So a lot of what you do is you try to give out free things, and when it's free, people don't value it as much, or when something's inexpensive. And it's interesting because we get a lot of like really good clothes or like Nike stuff, like Nike shoes or whatever, whatever we get, and we price it pretty on the lower end side, like at least $5, like 5 to 15, depending on what it is. And a lot of people start haggling with us because they're like, well, this is already like $5. Like, you can't just give it to me for 3. And we're like, no. But if we price it higher, like if it's the base is 15, then people have like no problem paying for it. It's so weird.
That's how it works. Yeah. Can you talk a little bit about how you help the youth?
Yeah. So on the side of my mom's nonprofit, we provide youth employment. So we work with different agencies so they actually employ the youth, people ages 14 through 24, and then they send them to us, where we are the job resource or job training center, essentially. So we teach them. It's kind of like 3 levels. So the first level is like basic job skills, so how to merchandise, how to work, how to ring people up, um, stuff like that. The second kind of tier is more abstract, uh, soft skills. So how to communicate, how to have good customer service. And then, even some like be a little, take initiative. And then the third kind of tier that we have is to try to be more of like a resource kind of guidance center for them. So we have our own mentorship program for them called Leaders in the Making, because the whole organization is called In the Making. So that's like the theme. So the mentorship is Leaders in the Making, and that's where it's on pause right now. But especially during the pandemic, monthly we would have meetings where we go over a lot of different topics. Like one of them that I kind of enjoyed was we were talking about saying sorry or apologizing, and kind of pointing out that I think we over apologize just in general, as a maybe in this culture, or like around the world. Like if you bump into someone, or the smallest thing, you just thought, well, oh sorry, and it's like, okay, well, hold on, maybe that's not giving the word, you're taking away its value, because to say sorry or to apologize should actually mean something. It should mean that you did something wrong that you are actually sorry for. um, so that was just something that my dad had raised me on, so it was nice to be able to do that. um, so that's what we do with the youth. What has been a little rewarding for me that I appreciate was, since I am in the Airbnb arbitrage space, I had gotten an Airbnb in Joshua Tree, and I was able to take out some of the youth to a retreat over there. So yeah, that was just super fun. So that's a lot of what we're doing. We try to have different programs that we're trying to implement. Like one is called Entrepreneurs, where we teach them how to cook pretty simple but healthy meals, so that they don't just rely on cup of noodles until they get gallstones or something, or kidney stones. Um, and yeah, and I'm also now working in the real estate space, trying to provide programs for teens and some of the youth as well, to try to teach them about financial literacy, about real estate, about being a business owner and entrepreneurship in general. So, yeah.
That is amazing. Yeah, that's really great. And how did you get started in that?
One nonprofit side was my mom. So because she just decided to do this, she would force me to work with her when I was younger. And then as time has gone on, because now since I'm 23, I'm kind of on the higher end of that 14 to 24-year-old threshold. And so I feel a sense of responsibility of kind of like a big sister, which I never had siblings, so it's interesting, but I feel like a big sister, where it's like, okay, well, I really want to be able to help the kids or help the people that are younger than me, or I want to make sure that they're set up. And I think because of that, it showed to other people. Like, I don't know if you know Tim Mai or Alex Lovely, but they're multifamily investors, and they want to do stuff with the youth as well. So I think when I talk about what I do with my mom, they're like, oh, okay, well, seems like she already has some sort of experience working with the youngins. We'll and some sort of drive. We'll just kind of throw her in there. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool that you got into that. And I'm
It's
sure it's really fulfilling when you help these people and all these
yeah,
young kids.
it's when they actually care, it's really nice. I've worked, especially like over here in LA with a nonprofit. A lot of the kids, I think they're just here because they needed money to work. But oh my gosh, when they don't care about what they're doing, or when they're like they decide to shut off their brain, it is so frustrating. Yeah, but that's
I'm sure
interesting.
that can be frustrating.
Yeah, it's really weird to see how some people just don't want to, how they just want to put minimum effort, and they don't really care about consequences, and not in a bad way, like where it's like, oh, they did something bad and like now there has to be consequences, but it's just, the consequence to you not trying so hard is that you're not going to get as much value from whatever. You're not going to get the opportunities that you could have if you just put in a little more effort, or just try to do good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that definitely makes sense. And can you talk about your Airbnb experience and all the properties that you manage and where they're located?
Yeah. So it's interesting. You're interviewing me now. Um, but I started doing Airbnb arbitrage, which is essentially subletting a home and doing short-term rentals or mid-term rentals out of that. I started out here in LA, like half an hour away from me, so it was pretty close by. I got my first one. Second one, I got it in Joshua Tree, because I thought, well, I've heard Joshua Tree a lot. I'm pretty sure people are gonna go over there and do small vacations. Um, and then the third one I got was in Dallas, Texas. And so I got all of them within a span of like 5 months, where I was just like, get as much as I can. And it's because I was doing an Airbnb arbitrage challenge. So it's like, start making 10K a month in 13 weeks. And so I was like, okay, well, I need to get as many as possible. But after the third one, I was like, okay, maybe I can take a break. I can work on these three and figure out how it is to manage these assets, and then move on from there. And man, is it a lot of work. Oh my goodness. Short-term rentals are not passive at all, unless you have good partners. And I think it can be passive if you're the capital bringer. Then you just bring the capital, you have good people that manage the asset, and then you don't worry. But oh my god, it's a lot.
Were you managing all these yourselves or do you have any VAs helping you?
No, I was managing them myself. I wanted to understand how just it was to do that. And so now I understand how much maintenance goes into houses. I had no idea, because again, we're a renter family growing up. So, oh my God, I learned a lot about HVACs. I learned about uh, fridge filters, and like the filters for, like I was saying, the HVAC and stuff, and um, plumbing situations, electrical situations. And then I learned a lot about the hospitality industry as well. So I've been doing a lot of customer service just in general, because of the different jobs and opportunities my mom's given me. But yeah, hospitality is definitely interesting. A lot of people will complain about the smallest things, which sometimes I understand. If you have a luxury rental and you're like, hey, I'm paying X amount, why are the lights not working, or like why is this light off, or whatever. Some people, they just want to get the best deal they can, and they haggle so hard. Um, Sometimes I've started filtering out a little bit of the hagglers. So for me, I would rather get a 5-star review than worry about what I'm going to get paid. So um, I find that that has helped me a lot. So, trying to have that abundance mindset and just trying to help them, like even if they're haggling, just letting not letting their mood or their words affect me. So if they're screaming at me, just, oh my gosh, I definitely understand. That sounds horrible. Let me go to my boss and see what I can do. And even though I'm the boss, they don't have to know. But then oh my gosh, so this is what I was able to get you. I was able to get you, your nights or this night discounted or this night refunded and stuff. And just doing stuff like that, and being a little apologetic, or like, oh my God, I totally get you, dude, that sucks. Or, however you're talking to them, they give you 5 stars. Like, as long as they feel heard, and even if they get a little bit of a discount, they love it. Like, okay, for instance, with my Joshua Tree property, when we were first starting, I don't know what was going on with the hot tub, that it just wouldn't work. And people would go because I had a hot tub. Like, that was the main reason why they'd go. And um when it wouldn't work, I'd be super apologetic. And I'm like, let me refund the whole night. And they would give me 5 stars. It wouldn't be like a huge review. It would just be like, oh,
Yeah.
place is great. I'm like, dude, 5 stars and you couldn't use the jacuzzi at all. That's pretty dang good. So that was my initial work with the arbitrages. And then from there, I ended up growing some partnerships and arbitraging and co-hosting like 12 more properties, which was a lot to take on at one time. So now I'm definitely downsizing. And I'm also downsizing because I want to start focusing more on single family wholesaling or purchasing multifamily. Just because that's gotten more of my attention, and it feels better to work in. Because again, hospitality can be a lot. And although it's nice to, even if you have a VA, that like it, for them to kind of deal with the guest interactions, it's still a lot. And I don't really want to have to worry about reviews and getting 5 stars and then also having to put out any kind of maintenance fires that comes up. I'd rather just have the maintenance and then have long-term tenants that I know have leases. So it's like, doesn't matter. Yeah,
Yeah, I think it's a good thing that you started with arbitrage before owning a bunch of them, because there's a lot more maintenance. With arbitrage, at least it's all covered by the owner or the landlord. So they have to pay for it typically.
Kind of. We try to make
Well,
it with ours, we're trying to make it sweet for them. So we would say, like, up to $300, we'll take care of it. So then
okay.
I also got, so like some things would be over. So then we would have the owner take care of it. But then it also gave me the chance to understand maintenance costs as well. So now I'm like, okay, let me get as many quotes as possible and see what's the best deal in terms of price and quality.
I feel like it's all a learning experience, right? So you had to go through all these things to learn, hey, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to do this anymore.
Hmm. Yeah, I feel like a lot of people start like poo-pooing on shiny object syndrome, which is kind of like, yeah, you want to make sure that you focus on what you're focusing on first. Um, but I think a lot of people, when they first start, trying different things is really helpful. Like, I had tried wholesaling, I had tried dispoing, and then I tried the arbitrage. Actually, before that too, then I was trying to be a lender connector and build a bunch of lender relationships. And all of those were just not really what I cared to do. So once I found arbitrage, then I was like, oh my God, this is great. I could totally do this. And then once I found multifamily, I was like, okay, I like this better. So.
And now, are you sticking with multifamily? Is this your kind of final decision?
For now, yeah, I really want to build that up because everybody that I talk to that is in the multifamily space, they're like, this is like generational wealth, and this is actually like building that up. So I'm like, okay, cool, that sounds good to me. I can play the waiting game and just build that up and then see where that goes. But I feel like as I build it up, um, and as things get a little more automated, when I have my free times, or I can kind of make looking at other stuff a hobby. So maybe I'll look at like wraps in a couple years, or, you know, whatever else. Because, man, especially when you're going to these conferences like WealthCon, you hear people start doing the most insane things and it just sounds fun. So I'm like, oh my God, I totally want to do a lot more within the next couple of years. But I'm like, okay, I need to focus. focus. So focus on multifamily, and then again, yeah, in a couple years, then I'll start looking at and trying to do more things.
That happened to me also. In the beginning, I had really bad shiny object syndrome. I would go from this thing to this thing to arbitrage to this, and it just wasn't working. So I have to just stick with one thing and get really good at one thing. And once that is mastered, then I can move on to the next.
Mm-hmm. And wraps is really good in my opinion. Like, I think you learn so much about loans and then so much about just a lot of different things that'll arise. And then not only that, being able to find buyers is like super, super valuable because I see a lot of people, and even with me, I've tried doing a couple wraps before or a couple lease options, and finding buyers was interesting. Like, it was interesting understanding what platforms you could utilize, even like Craigslist. I was like, oh, all right.
Yeah, you can utilize Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace,
Mhm.
a lot of different platforms where you can talk to people about getting them owner financing homes, right? So 6 out of 10 people don't qualify for the traditional way. So there's plenty of people that want to buy homes from us. You just have to find them.
Do you use like Zillow or apartments.com, or like how else do you, if you don't mind giving us your secrets, how else do you usually find buyers?
Yeah, we usually find them through Facebook Marketplace and other agents, just other people in the industry, or like friends that say, hey, I have a friend that doesn't qualify for a loan. Can you help them? Or loan officers. So things like that, we're able to get wrap buyers from. I mean, if you think about it, there's more buyers that don't qualify than actually qualify. So they're out there. You just have to go find them. And you
Oh,
just have to build a relationship with them for them to trust you, for them to want to buy a house from you, because that's a big commitment.
dang, that's interesting. So when you're working with like agents and loan officers to get these referrals, what do you typically pay? Is it like a percentage, or is it a flat fee?
It'll really depend on the down payment, right? So if we get a really big down payment of 20%, then we have no problem paying more. So if somebody brings us a wrap buyer and they only give us 10% down, we can't give them as much. So it really just depends based off of that. And that goes for loan officers and agents, and even referrals from people.
Mm, that's interesting. And so, okay, so it depends on the deal. Um, you have found people that give like 20% down. That's a lot. Oh wait, no, is that usually how much you give for banks as well? 20.
Exactly. So it's actually the same as what you typically have to pay, 10 to 20%. And then you also have to pay PMI and all these other fees. With us, we're actually charging a lot lower rates than market.
Mm. And so these leads or these houses that you get as well, are you going direct to agent or are they direct to seller?
We do all direct to agent.
Damn. Very nice. Very nice. I really like the direct to agent route. You just, because when you go through one deal, and they're like, okay, cool, this guy knows how to close a deal, and we'll keep that word of like, oh yeah, we can do this, and then they actually do it, and then that's like the pipeline to start getting more leads.
And they'll just bring you unlimited leads. If you do good business with them, they'll just keep bringing you deals and keep bringing you deals. That's what it's all about.
Yep. DTA all the way.
Yeah,
Bless.
we love direct to agent.
Well, cool. On that note, I don't have any more questions. I mean, that was already something that I did want to ask about that I had forgotten in the beginning. So, very cool. Do you have any more questions for me?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask one more. So, what is your thoughts on gratitude and how do you use gratitude in your life?
Damn, that's a good one. Okay, once I answer, right back at you. I forgot the beginning of it. Something about gratitude. I get it. Um, Gratitude plays a huge role in a lot of what I do. I have noticed that when I start feeling a little envious or I start getting down, it's because I'm not really appreciating where I'm at or what I have. My mom, during those times, I tend to talk to her a lot. I'm like, oh my God, mom, what am I doing? And she's like, well, have you written in your journal? Like, what are some good things that actually happened this week? And I'm like, oh, well, I did this, I did this. I met with these people. These people wanted to do whatever. And, and when you start actually remembering those things, it pumps you up and it motivates you. So oh man, I can't remember his name. I think it's Alan. I'm not Alan. Colin, something with a Y. Anyways, he was on Nick's, one of Nick's things like a month ago, but he had mentioned that he's starting, or what he does every morning is he writes in a notebook. He splits it off into 4 different sections, and on one section he has a power list, and a power list is, it doesn't have to be a lot. It could be like 3 to 10 things that you need to do, but it's stuff that you have to do that you cannot delegate, that will push you towards your goals. So it's not just like a to-do list. It's like, okay, these are big things that I need to get done in order to move forward. Next, he writes the 4 agreements. So have you read the 4 agreements before?
No, I haven't.
It's a good one. It's a book talking about like, I don't know what to call them. I guess like 4 rules that you should implement in your life, or that you may want to implement in your life. And so the first one is be impeccable with your word. The second is don't assume. Third is don't take things personally. And then lastly, it's always do your best. So we can go more into that. But that's also something that we read with the youth that work here. So like I was saying, how we're a guidance center, we make sure that everybody that's new that starts working here has to read the book with me. So I lead the discussions. I lead us reading the book together. And everybody always has something to, like, or at least I make everybody talk and have something to say about the book. But every time by the end of it, a lot of these kids, or especially teens, which has been really great to see, but a lot of them have, you can see the shift in their mind of like, oh, okay, perspective shift. Like, oh, I've noticed that, like my boyfriend, like I would get mad at him because he wouldn't know, or he wouldn't, give me flowers or something. And it's like, oh, I was assuming that, he would just know what I want. Let me just communicate with him more about what I want. Or, oh, when my mom says this, I feel like she's criticizing me. I get really hurt, but okay, well, let me just not get hurt. Like, why take it personally? Maybe she's trying to help and she doesn't understand, there could be a better way to say it. So that's something that we go over with them. But anyways, so on to this thing, writing down the 4 agreements to just remind yourself every day. And then you write a list of things that you're grateful for. And I like to always have 5 things that I'm grateful for. And then the last one is like a letter to blank. It could be a letter to God, a letter to money, a letter to relationships or friendships, like abstract. And it's kind of just showing your appreciation for whatever it is that you choose. So a lot of people start thinking like, okay, well, money is the root of all evil, and you kind of hate money. And it's like, okay, well, how are you going to get anywhere in, like, if you're trying to get, I guess, gain wealth? If you hate what you're going for, then that's not really going to do anything. You want to be grateful for that, for it. You want to, if you're, faith-based, you want to be grateful for God and your relationship with him, if you, whatever. So long story short, yes, gratitude plays a big role in everything. I think as long as you're appreciative of the things you have, you'll get more of it. So back at
So my perspective on gratitude, I feel like it's a bridge that connects your heart, and it just makes it infinite possibilities possible. So I practice gratitude every day. There's not a day that goes by where I don't remember where I came from. And I'm super grateful for all those experiences, because without those experiences, I wouldn't have the knowledge and the wisdom that I have today, and just the ability to be able to live life comfortably and normally. So I think gratitude plays a huge role, and a lot of people underestimate it. They just don't see the value. And I think you have to be grateful for what you have in order to get things that you want. So that's my take on gratitude.
Dang, you're just so much shorter than me. that was a very distinct, great way to put it. You should take over this show. What am I doing? Man, well, thank you. I'm gonna take that from you now. That's a good question. Thank you, Alex.
Well, I really appreciate you having me on.
I really appreciate talking to you. It was so fun to meet up at WealthCon too. Like, from going to, oh, hi, a little bit during Nick's things, to actually like hanging out, going to the stratosphere, which is super scary. Oh my God. Never again. I'm okay.
Why was it scary?
It's so high. I don't like it. You start, oh my God. Okay.
Oh, I remember. Oh, yeah. We were at the very top. Yeah, I remember.
The worst part, I mean, I can get used to it being high, especially because like it had multiple railings. But the worst was when we were going up, like in the elevator, that was all shaky, and you're like, the lights are flickering, and it feels like, oh my god, it's like a horror.
And then we saw the other people in the elevator above us. That was funny. That's funny.
That's funny. We were the ones having a good time. They were all just like jaded by the experience. But anyways, thank you, Alex. I appreciate you coming on. I would love to have you on again, and I'll have more questions readily available because I sorely underestimated how many I would need. So
It's okay. Yeah, we'll definitely do this again.
yay, cool. Well, I appreciate you. Have a wonderful day. And where can people find you and how?
So I'm on Instagram, just Alex Kamenetsky, one word. That would be the easiest way to find me.
Perfect. Cool. There you go. Instagram. Appreciate you. Appreciate your time. And we'll talk again soon.